Steve, it's time to take a deep dive on the recruiting prediction machine. Predictions have been rolling in all offseason on elite recruits left and right, but today I want to find out if you agree with the recruiting prediction machine on a couple top uncommitted prospects. We're going to start with the number 2 ranked offensive tackle in America, Emmanuel Ianacho, currently trending to Oregon at 86% and Maryland at just 5%. You agree?
Well, of course, I'm one of the predictions. I'm one of the reasons why it's slanted towards Oregon. But this has been a recruitment that's been fluid. He's had multiple leaders, including Georgia, who's not even in the mix anymore. So LSU is certainly a front runner for him. We'll see what they can do in this recruitment. Alabama, Auburn are in play. Maryland
so would you maybe have
favorite.
LSU ahead of Maryland at more than 5%?
I think the top 3 is Oregon, then LSU, then Penn State right now.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Felix Ojo. Now, these are going to increasingly get a little bit harder. This one, another relatively easy one, I think. 5-star offensive tackle Felix Ojo out of the state of Texas, trending 90% to Texas, 2% to Oklahoma.
Well, I'm one of the predictions for Texas, so that's why it's slanted so big. But Ohio State is definitely a player in that one. He's had 2 really good visits to Florida. Oklahoma and Michigan are also in play.
All right. Number 1 linebacker for On3, Tyler Atkinson, 32% Georgia, 13% Auburn. You agree?
I agree, but think that there's a lot of, I think this recruitment's still playing out. How much infrastructure will Georgia have for Tyler Atkinson compared to some other programs? Now, Georgia, old school recruiting, the way they develop linebackers is second to none. Scheme close to home. They've poured a lot into Tyler Atkinson. His leadership qualities, in addition to his film, are why he's so coveted, just the way he's going to be a captain for whatever school he chooses. But it's linebacker, right? So some schools value it differently than others from an infrastructure standpoint. And then he has to talk it over with his camp and representation of how big that is in his own recruitment. But he's already sponsored by Adidas and got some good things going. So obviously NIL is already very relevant with Tyler Atkinson because of that. He's visiting Clemson next weekend. They're a program that he's felt like he's really fit in. Auburn is a program where they have ties to the Grayson program. Ohio State is probably the program I'm watching the second most, and then Oregon is the program I'm watching third most for Tyler Atkinson. And we'll see when all the chips are put on the table where Georgia stands in that group. But right now, if you're asking me, I just don't know who to put ahead of them, but Ohio State and Oregon are very real.
Yeah, I would disagree with the RPM having Auburn in second place at 13%. Yeah, I'd probably put Ohio State in there. I'd maybe have I think Georgia maybe should have a little bit more of a percentage of this right now, but I definitely think
me too.
Ohio State.
And I put Oregon 3.
Yeah, Ohio State should probably be in there in that 2 spot, not Auburn.
No question.
Right,
no
let's
question.
take a look at Brandon Arrington's recruiting prediction machine, which shows Texas A&M at 83% to 5% USC. Steve, I don't think you agree with this recruiting prediction machine.
Well, I agree that A&M should be out in front, although I didn't necessarily think that a couple weeks ago. But working it with Chad Simmons, our colleague, my on 3 RPMs on A&M, and even I've felt better at times than others. You know, talking with Chad, our colleague, just the opportunity to get on the field early, in addition to just Mike Elko's track record for defense, what A&M's able to do infrastructurally, where he's at on their board. A&M's in a good spot. Oregon also
who should be second.
Oregon, in my opinion, I would put Oregon second. And then you got Alabama. They have led. Georgia's in there. USC's just kind of, I don't know, right? They already have so many great defensive backs committed. They're in the Davon Benjamin hunt. Where does all your infrastructure go at the corner position? Obviously, Arrington's visited. He's local. They're high on him. But I just haven't heard as much USC buzz. Doesn't mean there's not. Doesn't mean he won't be a Trojan. Just more around A&M and Oregon right now.
Yeah, when it comes to the recruiting prediction machine, I'd probably put Texas A&M closer to 45%, maybe not 83%. And then I'd probably have Oregon second. But these are you're right. It's so close between Oregon, USC, and Alabama. I mean, that's two A, 2B, and 2C basically right there for Brandon Arrington, who's set to decide July 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. All right, moving on. Number 1 running back Savian Hiter currently trending to Ohio State at 27% and Georgia at 24%. If you asked me this about 2 or 3 months ago, I would have Michigan at maybe 90%. But where are the Wolverines? Do you agree with this recruiting prediction?
No, but it's very close. I would give Michigan the slightest a percentage point lead for Savian Hiter right now because he's the number 1 player on their board, regardless of position. And we know Michigan can flex infrastructurally. I don't think they've even put that complete package together right now. I think a guy like Savian Hiter right now comes in under $1 million before his official visits. I think he can come out of his official visits over $1 million a year. So I think Michigan loves him and what they can do on and off the field when they want to is very exciting. Just their offense, relationships with the staff, the program itself, the alumni. I mean, Savian Hiter is as well-rounded a recruit as there is in the country. And I think Michigan checks all the boxes for him. That doesn't say others don't, but I just think they love him. The other schools love him too, but I don't know if he's the number 1 draft pick for the other 3 schools, right? And then you got Ohio State, certainly had a great visit this spring. They just had 2 running backs drafted. He's kind of called them RBU. He went back to Ezekiel Elliott. I would put them second, but a source yesterday said they would put Tennessee second. I think there's confidence around Athens. I think I would put them 4th going into the officials just for some little things that that they're not as buttoned up off the field with their players as some of the other programs are as being in the news. So that's the way I see that one coming into the summer, but he's got a lot of love for all 4. These official visits are going to be big. There's different reasons why each of them stand out, but that in a nutshell is why I give the slightest of edges to Michigan. But that's me giving educated guesses on it. He may have a leader that's not Michigan right now, and he's just not saying it, and he's going into his officials comparing the other 3 to that program.
I got you. All right, let's move on to elite tight end Mark Bowman out of California, Modern Day High School, 66% to Texas, showing on the recruiting prediction machine. And in the second spot is Georgia with 26%. Kind of agree with this. What about you?
Well, I would flip those schools and then tighten the percentages. Okay. But Georgia, how much infrastructure are they going to pour into this one? Where does Caden Prothero end up? They already have Lincoln Keys committed, who they love. So there's some moving parts with Georgia, but I think that Georgia, what they've done with tight ends, what they did with Brock Bowers, the offense, the emphasis on the tight end position, the way he's fit in. He's been to the last 2 G days. Like, he spent a lot of time at Georgia. Infrastructure, man, because we know Texas. Look, and Texas got a lot to sell too. Their tight end, very prominent in the offense. Sarkisian, the history, the program's on the rise. They're competing for national titles too. And then we know they can bang when they have to from an infrastructure standpoint. Those are the 2 I'm looking at the hardest. Just had a good visit to Ole Miss. USC's doing all they can to continue to make a move there, and we know that they're not bringing knives to gunfights for NIL things, and then Oregon's in play too. But I would give Georgia the slightest percentage points over Texas right now, knowing that it's close and the scale can continue to maneuver.
All right, 2 more, and they're good ones. We'll go with linebacker Xavier Griffin. And the recruiting prediction machine is still not caught up to his decommitment. It's showing USC at 89% and Bama at 2%. So obviously we disagree. So what do you think this recruiting machine should be showing?
Well, so it's kind of a similar deal as Tyler Atkinson, right? But Bama instead of Georgia. Family ties to Tuscaloosa, loves the coaching staff, loves his fit, loves the people around the program. Spent a lot of time talking to Alabama while he was committed to USC. But this is a young man that's going to command a good chunk of infrastructure. And I think that there are some other schools that look a little scarier, that other schools with more of a track record of winning those kinds of recruitments, Texas, Ohio State. So we'll see where Alabama fits in.
All right, the last player is elite wide receiver Calvin Russell. This is a tough one because his recruitment is so hard to get a grip on, but the recruiting prediction machine shows the Canes not 29%. Sorry, Miami at 29%, with the Florida Gators right behind him at 21%. You agree here?
I don't think I agree, but could see Miami landing him, and he is, as Miami pushes towards the top 5 class after landing Cantwell. I think if you were like Mario, Coach Cristobal, staff, who do you want to add to this class? You can pick 2. They would pick Calvin Russell and Derek Cooper, local guys.
Yeah.
But you hear a lot of LSU, you hear a lot of Oregon, Syracuse with Calvin Russell. Yeah. Florida just had him on campus. His mom played basketball at Miami, but she does not want her son to pick the Hurricanes based on family ties and being a legacy recruit. Like, you got to go out and show him that you love him, for his own journey. And then that's the best place for him, for himself, because he's living his own life. She lived her life. Right. So you got that going on. And so I don't know. I could see him at Miami because I just know how much they're going to pour into that recruitment from a relationship standpoint and other things down the stretch.
Yeah.
But would I put Florida second? I don't know that I would, even though he was just there this weekend. I don't know. We'll see, man.
All right. Those are the current percentages. You guys let us know, which ones do you agree with? Which ones do you disagree with?